Good morning to our viewers and welcome to today's podcast. I'm extremely proud and honored to welcome here with us today Penny from UCL and Andy from Imperial. Thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast.
No, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it's
Welcome
a pleasure.
to Cyprus.
Thank you.
Sorry, apologies for the weather.
We won't hold it against
Yeah.
you, so that's fine.
You came to get away from the rain, but it's actually a rainy day today for us here
It
in
is,
Cyprus.
Yeah, but still a bit of sunshine, which is
Yeah,
nice.
it's
We've seen
yeah.
some sun,
In between
so,
the rain,
yeah.
it's been
Good.
nice.
Yeah.
That's good. So shall we jump straight into it so that we can start giving our viewers the information that they're anxiously waiting to hear, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Could you walk us through the application process? I mean, we'll start with you, Penny, if that's okay. In terms of what happens behind the scenes, maybe when admissions tutors get an application in their hand. I mean, if you could walk us through that process from the university side.
So in terms of for UCL, we're a large university and we have 11 faculties. So depending on what programme you're applying to, it will go to a particular team within the university. So we have our admissions team who have expertise for various faculties and will view those applications. So those initial checks will happen there. So, do the students meet the requirements? So if we're asking for subject-specific requirements, particular grades and so forth. If there's tests that we may ask for, so for example, law, we ask for the LNAT, we'll be looking at those things as well. And then if needed, it will go to the admissions tutor in a given department for that final stage of consideration where they're looking at things like the personal statement and so forth to help them determine out of all the applications who they'll be making offers to for that particular programme.
Yeah. And I know for both of these universities, I mean, we're talking large volumes of applications to places or to offers that you're able to make. I mean, are there any numbers that you want to throw in there just to make...
At UCL, it is large numbers, but we do have a large number of programmes. So we have about 7,000 places, and last year we had about 83,000 applications. Competition will vary depending on programmes. There are some programmes that are very popular. Computer science comes to mind, law, English, fine art are just a few examples at UCL. And there's more like niche programmes possibly. I talk about Viking studies. Yeah. Demand is not quite so high, but there are still more applications than places. So it's just varying levels of competition. And Imperial, smaller number, but
smaller number, but we have fewer students. A smaller university, yeah. I mean, in the region, it's over 30,000 applications for. We make something like 4,000 offers for something like 3,000 places. But overall, again, very similar to UCL, overall we had, I think the last year, it was 9.6 applications per place across all subjects. But again, that can vary between, 4 applications per place for some subjects right up to 30 applications per place for others.
And that's, a really difficult task for admissions tutors. I mean, to work through so many thousands of applications and I'm assuming that most students that are applying, they've been predicted the grades that they need anyway. I mean, we've said obviously personal statements. What about reference letters? Do you pay attention to reference letters? Just trying to find the detail in the difference.
So, I made mention of tests, so that can be used as a tool. So not all programmes will have additional tests, but, we're increasing the number that we are asking for at UCL, for example. So the tests can come into play. Again, at UCL, programmes like architecture, fine art will ask for a portfolio. That comes into play. Now, with the reference... we have to be as fair as possible. And for many students in the UK, they may not have that same level of support from their schools in terms of the reference. Okay. So it is looked at, but for UCL, it's really not going to play a deciding factor because not all students, we know the amazing support you give your students here. Not all students will have that same level from their schools. and in terms of what we would see in the reference. So to ensure fairness, it is looked at, but it wouldn't tend to be a deciding factor for us at UCL.
Of course, following Brexit, there's been a great interest in applying to the US, to applying to other, obviously, European destinations as well. And a lot of universities are now starting to place a lot of emphasis on the all-rounded student, the extracurricular activities, show your achievements in areas beyond your school subjects. How important is this for Imperial and UCL?
I think so. We tend to draw a kind of, I suppose, a distinction between what we call supercurricular and extracurricular activities, which I think are slightly confusing terms, so I don't tend to use them. For the UK, because, and I think especially for Imperial, but also for most UK universities, where it tends to be a lot more kind of subject-based, so a lot of what we're looking for is what people are doing outside of the classroom but related to their subject. So it's more about applying to a subject rather than, for example, in the US, where it's a lot more, you don't apply necessarily to one subject, you apply as you. So things like extracurriculars and all those things that you're doing are really important. For us and for a lot of UK universities, it's more about kind of what are you reading around your subject? Are you doing anything related to the subject that you want to study? So are you doing any online courses? Are you doing any personal reading, personal projects? Are you listening to podcasts, doing online courses? But for UK universities, and particularly for Imperial and UCL, it's more about what you're doing that's related to the subject you're applying to than more general extracurricular activities, I think.
Yeah. We do like to hear about extracurricular, but I think it's important to stress the kind of qualities those extracurricular activities can sort of tell us about the individual and what they would bring to the university and the programme. So, sports, if you're involved in sports, teamwork, captain of a sports team as an example, leadership skills, debating, if you're part of debating, UN groups and things like that. That can sort of show, ability to present, articulate ideas, which for some programmes is key. So we like to hear about extracurricular, but a lot of the time we're looking at what they can actually tell us about the qualities and attributes that the student can bring to the programme and the university.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. I'm loving, by the way, this collaboration every year. We're so happy to have you come together.
We love working.
We do love working together.
So tell me a little bit about this collaboration. Does it go beyond this annual trip to Cyprus and other, or are you competing for students? Or are you actually collaborating when it comes to?
Well, I think we're always in. There've been many students who apply to both us and Imperial, and in many cases their preference will be Imperial, which is great, and in other cases it will be UCL. But it's all about the right fit for the student. So our work together is ensuring that we're giving that information to students so they can make informed decisions about what's the best choice for them. And yes, we do this in Cyprus and have done for a number of years, but elsewhere in Europe, but worldwide as well. So we have joint activity in Asia as well, mainly America. Europe. So, but we think it benefits the students to sort of see here. We're keen to talk about, because we do believe that as universities in London, there are benefits of studying in London. And then helping them to understand what differentiates our universities in terms of our subject offer and the environment. Because, Imperial suits some students better than UCL, and that's fine. But it's about allowing students, giving them that opportunity to hear and understand what the options are and what best suits them, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think, it's important that the student finds the right university for them. And if that's UCL, then that's UCL. Yeah. So that's it. I don't think UCL wants students that don't want to be there and Imperial don't want students. So, it's about kind of giving students the information about our universities. And it's nice to travel with other people and be able to kind of, talk about all of these sorts of things and give students kind of the full picture of the similarities, the differences, and the kind of different experiences. Because, whilst similar in a lot of ways, they're also UCL and Imperial are quite different in a lot of ways.
So okay, go on. Let's go. Let's go with that then.
Yeah.
What are the differences?
Yeah, I think Penny will interrupt if I start. So I think some of the main differences. So Imperial is very specialist. We only teach in 4 areas, whereas UCL we've got 4 faculties. You've got 11, is it? 11 faculties. Yeah. So we're very specialist around kind of science engineering, which obviously suits some students. UCL teaches a big range. Our courses in some areas tend to be a little bit more specialist. So obviously with the kind of breadth and depth that UCL has, I think there's opportunities to do things in lots of different areas, whereas Imperial tends to be quite specialist. We might be looking for kind of students that are really, really interested in their one area, and there are opportunities to do things outside of that, but it is quite a kind of specialist kind of course structure in a way that UCL there might be opportunities to do kind of more things. And I think the environment as well, because we are smaller, we're I think half the size, less than half the size of UCL at the moment. So I think that idea that you've got 55,000 other students at UCL, that really appeals to some people. That kind of there's people from absolutely everywhere. There's all of that. Whereas Imperial's, I suppose, a little bit more of a kind of closed environment's the wrong word, but a little bit kind of smaller, more specialist, I suppose. So there's a slightly different kind of vibe is probably the word. There's a different vibe to your university experience because it's that little bit kind of more smaller, more specialist, more contained than it might be at UCL. And I think those things appeal to different students.
Yeah, so, UCL being multidisciplinary, as if you're studying medicine, you could be living alongside someone who's doing law, someone who's doing languages. And I think that really enriches your learning environment, which is quite nice. Andy mentioned, you can focus on subjects at UCL, but being multidisciplinary, we offer opportunities for lots of interdisciplinary studies as well. So, we have quite a unique programme at UCL called the Bachelor of Arts and Sciences, where you're studying these traditionally very differing streams together throughout your studies and looking at how they actually come together. So, you have the engineering stream and more the humanities, but sort of bringing them together. So there's opportunities to do that at UCL, but even similarly with Imperial, if you're choosing to just focus on physics, for example, and you have an interest in that, we have research groups you can get involved in that working alongside other students where you can sort of feed in research work that's going on in particular areas. So, it just there's slightly different feels, and that's why we tend to always say if you ever are in London,
Visit.
do use the opportunity. We both really welcome visitors. We have tours that you can sign up for. In some cases, we may be able to arrange things individually. Not always possible to meet with academics. Students will often ask, but at UCL I know that can be a challenge. But, just to walk around, you quickly get a sense of, does this feel the right fit for me? Or, oh no, I can't imagine spending 3-4 years of my life here. So,
You mentioned the Bachelor of Arts and Sciences, which is really interesting. Maybe some would say under the radar course. Are there any other courses that we can tell our viewers about?
Yeah, so in terms of more interdisciplinary, so we have like philosophy, politics and economics, where you're looking at those subjects across the board. We have things like social sciences. Really popular is European or international politics at politics and social sciences. So again, where you have that opportunity. So, you're looking at languages, you're looking at politics, you're looking at economics, sort of bringing all those threads together with a focus on Europe or a focus on international, things like social sciences with data science. So again, how those subjects sort of come together is quite something we do quite a bit at UCL as well.
Would you say they're slightly less competitive?
No.
Okay.
No. So the Bachelor of Arts and Sciences is actually quite popular. Again, it really gives that students that opportunity to sort of, keep that interest in a number of areas. So I remember speaking to one student who was particularly interested in car design, but when he's looking at car design, He's looking at the engineering aspect of it, but he also looks at the aesthetic, the economic, the social impacts as well. So you sort of get this broader picture and how it feeds in. So it's quite popular, basically. So yeah, generally, I think most of our programs will have more applications than places. It's just some to a slightly lesser degree, but arts and sciences is quite popular. So yeah,
Okay, fair enough.
yeah.
And the relatively new course at Imperial as well, the business school,
Yeah.
is quite popular.
Very, very popular, yeah.
well.
So the first time that our business school has done an undergraduate course, so they've been postgraduate focused for the last 20, I think, years that they've been running. So doing a lot of kind of MScs and MBAs. But yeah, launched the Economics, Finance and Data Science course 2 years ago now. Yeah, proved to be very, very popular. I think it's a really interesting course. I don't know of any other universities that do that exact kind of combination. The thing that I would kind of, it's very much a kind of economics and finance course, using data science as a kind of a tool to understand economics and finance. So I think it's a really interesting kind of mix of that kind of business and economics kind of thing. But it is fundamentally a very kind of maths focused business course, but has proved to be very popular. And I think, yeah, very, very high application numbers, partly because it's still early in the kind of process, partly because I think it is an interesting kind of mix of subjects, and partly because at the moment numbers are still relatively small on that course, to allow for kind of flexibility and allow for kind of small working groups on that course. So rather than kind of massive lecture theatres, more kind of small group-based activity. So at the moment, it's still a relatively small course. Yeah, if that may change in the future. I mean, it's always going to be competitive. It's always going to generate a lot of applications. But yeah, hopefully in the next few years, there may be more places available on that course. So the number of applications per place may go down very slightly. We'll see. We're waiting to see on the numbers this year. But yeah, it was very high in the first couple of years.
And what about connections to industry? Because obviously a lot of students choose to study at your universities for the links with industries, being close to the, whether it's arts, fashion, finance. I mean, you're close to the centre of it, or you're in the centre of it. So what kind of links would students be able to benefit from with industry if they attend your universities?
Well, again, we're very fortunate. Our universities have this very strong reputation. So consistently, various league tables, you will see Imperial and UCL are ranked very highly, not only in terms of the UK, but worldwide as well. So there's a recognition of the reputation of the university and the calibre of our students. So we both have amazing careers teams it's not uncommon for companies to actively come onto our campus seeking out our graduates. So again, because they know the calibre and the quality. So we work, all the big names, we will have those links and so forth. So students would have opportunities across many programs to have internships, maybe as part of their degree, but something they can do in the holidays, and when you have a nice sizable amount of time for holidays, so there's opportunities to do that as well, and the career service will support students to enable them to access those opportunities. And I think we've both said even once graduating, students can still access the career service.
Wow.
And those links go beyond the UK. They're worldwide as well. So, I think our employment prospects for our students are some of the best in the UK. I think Imperial top earning graduates, aren't you?
Yeah, I think, yeah. And Graduate University of the Year, I think, in one of the league tables. But I think, yeah, exactly what you're saying. I think at both universities, you've got very, very good graduate prospects. You've got very close links with industry.
Yeah.
I always say that I'm slightly reluctant to drop names and then drop names, but walk into our Department of Aeronautics and there's a Rolls-Royce jet engine in there and things like that. So there are close links with kind of, and you'll have very similar kind
Yeah.
of links with computing, like with Google and Microsoft
Yeah,
and various kind
totally.
of things like that. But and that goes across all subjects, so I don't think they're going to be very similar. In terms of industry links within courses, whether
Yeah.
that's kind of organisations and companies kind of setting projects or for engineering or tasks. I know that goes across both universities as well. So there are very close links with industry throughout the course and kind of moving forward into careers, as
Yeah.
you were saying.
So you'll see, UCL and Imperial will often in the news in terms of research, and that research will be in conjunction with industry partners. So it's from the very root of what we do, like research into teaching. I know for a lot of our programs we discuss with companies, business, what they're seeking for graduates in terms of development of programs. So that's embedded in the way we work. We're not like an isolated island where we just teach, because we know the importance of preparing our students for the real world. But in terms of the work we do, you need to have that partnership with businesses in industry in many cases.
Obviously, so many reasons why students would want to come and study at your universities or study in London. But I mean, the main reason why a student may not apply to your university would be the financial aspect. I mean, what would you say to students who are worrying about the cost of studying at your institutions in London?
I'll take that.
Yeah.
You looked at me for that one. Thanks.
Well, you've covered it a bit more, so
Yeah. I think what do I say to students? I think look into it, look into it in detail. I think there are kind of variations in kind of fees between different courses. So do have a look, do your research, have a look. I mean, both of us, I think, on our websites have got kind of what our students actually spend in terms of average monthly spend. So I know what we say, but yeah, look at what students are actually spending. Look into it, do your research, and look at scholarships. So I know scholarships and bursaries work slightly differently at UCL and Imperial on the whole. So for Imperial, in terms of international undergraduate students, they tend to mostly be departmental focused. We've got an IB Excellence Scholarship, but mostly it's kind of departmental based. But look into those. Look at what financial support is available. UCL tends more towards financial need in terms of scholarships. So do look around. Like, we do understand that it is kind of relatively kind of expensive for kind of across Europe, but obviously we think that is matched in terms of all the things we were talking about in terms of being an incredible kind of places to come and study. So yeah, do look into it, look into the financial support available, but yeah, and kind of do your sums as part of your research, because it is a big factor in kind of coming particularly to London. But I think the other side of it is actually London is, in terms of cost of living, pretty comparable to most other large European capital cities, and indeed most other big cities in the UK in terms of cost of living once you're there. So yeah, do look into that. The other thing that I would say was, I know certainly on our website, I imagine it's also on UCL's, there are external charities that do offer funding. So we've got links to external sources of funding. So do look into that. There might be charities and organisations, whether they're in Cyprus or kind of across the EU, that may be able to provide additional funding. So again, if you're really desperate to kind of come to some of the best universities in the world, do look into those sorts of things as well.
I think in terms of living costs as well, it's so, of course you need to be able to pay the fees, but if you're in that position and then you're worried about, is London, now if you visited London as a tourist, and for us who work there, yeah, it can be expensive, but I think as students, you can really make the most of it. You get 30% off travel in and around London, loads of discounts. I massively miss my student card, where I could go into a clothes shop and get my 10% discount. You go into a restaurant and so forth. So there's lots of ways to keep costs down. Many students will work as well. And again, huge opportunities in London, but on both our campuses, There's opportunities to work, and I'm sure you have the same, but we have like a student ambassador scheme, really flexible. You can choose when you work and whatever. Pay is very favourable as well, so if you're looking to earn some extra money. So there are ways, but I think the main thing to stress, it is quite an individual thing as well. So, you know, we often joke, you know, Harrods is just round the corner from Imperial. If you're popping into Harrods, you know, that average spend, which we say is about 1,500, and that's again, as Andy said, what our students feed back to us. That's not going to go very far. So it is quite individual as well. I think that's important to bear in mind. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, there's ways it is far more affordable than people think. And, you know, like student accommodation is comparable to other major cities in the UK as well. So, you know, that can help keep costs down. So, yeah, but you do your research, basically. I think that's important.
Yeah, I think one thing that I always encourage kind of even students from Europe that are worried about, but certainly students from the UK that I talk to as well, is even if it's just, you know, half an hour on an Excel spreadsheet, just kind of draw up a budget and just kind of say, right, well, this is how much this costs. This is how much kind of, you know, you can have a look on our websites and see what rent is in student accommodation. This is how much I think I'm going to spend a week on food. This is how much. What does that equal per month that I'm going to need? And is that going to be feasible?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, you know, strictly something you're going to adhere to, but kind of, yeah, you get a lot of numbers kind of given to you and shouted at you. So yeah, just even that half an hour in Excel spreadsheet kind of going, this might be what it costs, is this, and then, you know, whether it's having a chat with your parents or whatever, is this feasible, is this achievable, and kind of doing that just to kind of, yeah, as you start to look around different universities, I think it's quite helpful.
That budgeting, learning to have that's a life skill that's essential, so it will stand you in good stead. And, you know, our website do give that breakdown to help people understand, you know, potentially what my food cost's going to be going out, you know, that's all factored in. But, you know, students should sit down as a family and sort of say, is this manageable and achievable, basically.
Well, it's a huge investment. I mean, students should be doing the research and just really getting down to looking at the details before they make such a huge decision.
Yeah.
Any success stories of your alumni?
I always quite like to mention Demis Hassabis, who ticks quite a few boxes at UCL. So he studied neuroscience at the university, British-born Cypriot as well, which is always quite nice to throw in.
Lovely to hear.
Yeah, so he studied neuroscience. He set up a massively successful company called DeepMind, which he eventually sold to Google. He's been involved in our Institute of Artificial Intelligence, which is a research institute at UCL. And at the end of last year, was awarded the Nobel Prize. So UCL's got 32 Nobel Prize winners. So he sort of ticks quite, you know, Nobel Prize winner, successful company, you know, UCL graduate. So he ticks quite a few boxes.
What was his name again, sir?
Demis Hassabis.
Okay.
So he has come back to the university where he gave a really interesting talk on artificial intelligence. So, and again, students have that opportunity. But the thing with UCL, because of the wide scope of our programs, we have such a mix of alumni. You know, I often talk, you know, Christopher Nolan and his wife Emma, who studied at UCL, she's a producer, he's a director, films like Inception, the Batman trilogy, they've done others as well. We don't offer film at UCL, but they met through our film society. Clearly went on to very different things from an English degree. And, you know, people like Coldplay, who did things like Greek and Latin, I think, a mixture, met at UCL, formed their band, clearly have gone on to very different things. But, you know, people like Alexander Bell, who invented the telephone throughout history. So there's such a mixture of UCL. So, honestly, if you want to know, our website can pinpoint all the amazing alumni and students. And I know Imperial as well. The first woman.
Yeah, so again, it's trying to pick the my favourite at the moment, because I do exactly what Penny suggests and have a look at the website and occasionally pick out people. My favourite at the moment, so Dr. Nikki Fox. She studied physics with us. She is currently NASA's head of science, and I believe the first woman to have ever held that role. I think the first non-American to hold that role as well. So is currently in charge of science at NASA. My favourite fact about her is still in a previous role at NASA. She was responsible for heading the team that made the fastest thing that has ever been made, which is a solar probe. Which I think is the same one that's been back in the news recently in the UK. But yes, the fastest thing ever made, which is quite a claim to fame. But again, similarly, kind of people from kind of across the board. The other one that I like mentioning at the moment, because they've just raised, so Imperial students, there's a company called Noplar, short for No Plastic, which makes kind of seaweed-based kind of compostable cutlery and containers for takeaway and fast food. And they've just raised, I think they've now raised over £15 million in funding. They won, there's a prize in the UK, Prince of Wales. It's the Earthshot Prize for kind of sustainable, which is £1 million kind of sustainability prize that they won quite a few years ago. And again, just that kind of idea of kind of success story. I think I always say like our slogan is science for humanity. So it's that kind of academic focus, but doing something for the benefit of humanity with that kind of academic focus. And I just think that they are good examples of that in practice, I think.
Definitely, both. All of those examples were amazing.
Yeah.
Any final words of advice to our students who are thinking of applying to UCL Imperial or in general with the new academic cycle that's approaching? Any words of advice? Any things that they should watch out for?
I'll go first. I always say that like my advice is always, I don't know whether it's good advice or bad advice, but the best applications, my advice is be genuinely interested in the subject you're applying to, which I'm not sure whether is that helpful or not, but I think the best applications are written by people that are clearly genuinely interested in the subject, because they're the people that are going to naturally, be doing things and reading things and going to things that around their subject that are going to be really important in their personal statement. But the people that have that genuine interest are going to be the people that are doing that anyway, that are going to have loads to write about, that are going to come across really well in interview and have interesting things to talk about. And also the people that are going to do really well if they get offers and come on the course, because they are genuinely interested in what they're studying. They're not doing the online course just for their personal statement. They're doing it because they're genuinely interested. And I think that's really important. I think that's the kind of students that both UCL and Imperial and, to be honest, most universities are really looking for, is students that go above and beyond because they have that genuine interest. So that's always my advice.
Yeah, and I'm always research. People often think programs have the same title, it's the same thing. Really understand the program you're applying for. We quite like to hear what are you keen to learn. Some cases, students may have a very clear idea of their career path. If not, we what do you want to learn? Where are you keen to explore your ideas? And that comes through if you've actually researched properly the programme. We don't want students, UCL, top university, I quite like English, I'll apply there. And then they realise, I've got a particular focus on, I don't know, modern English literature, and that's not something we really do. So again, really researching and knowing what you're applying for. And I think importantly for students looking to apply going forward, it's just that awareness that the personal statement is slightly changing. I think the key thing we're always keen to stress is what we're looking for has not changed. It has traditionally been an essay. It will now become 3 parts.
Yeah, 3 sections. Yeah.
But fundamentally, we are still looking for that same content. Why are you applying for the programme, your motivation within your studies, outside of your studies, what you've done to learn more about it and so forth. And then that smaller amount about other activities, so forth. So just that students are aware of that change. But fundamentally for us, we're still asking to see the same kind of content.
Great. Well, brilliant pieces of advice for our students and really helpful information as well. I mean, I really feel like our viewers, and I hope our viewers now can understand what needs to go into their research and their decision making before they make their applications, and definitely include Imperial and UCL in their choices.
Yeah, and good luck to anyone
Yes.
that is applying. It's
Yeah.
it's not the easiest process, but yeah, like good luck.
Yes, definitely.
and all the best.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much for coming.
No, thank
Thank
you for
you.
having
Yeah.
us.
Great to see you again. And
Yes,
we're
lovely
to see you
looking
again.
forward to seeing you again soon.
Hopefully,
definitely.
yes. Hopefully the sunshine will be out
Yeah,
a bit more
hopefully
for
it'll
us.
be sunny next time we
Next time we
we're back.
welcome you back, we'll try our best to make sure there's some sun for
Thank
you.
you.
That'd be
Thank
great,
you so
yeah.
much.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you,
Thank you.
viewers, for watching till the end, and take care.